ladies and gentlemen. Justin Harvey here. I am your host. Welcome to World Martial Arts Radio Network. It's yet time for another great show of World Martial Arts Radio. So let's get started. Tonight, my guest is a very, I want to say, in compliment, a complex man. Not only is he a martial artist, but he is also a Christian musician, and he is from Cleveland, Tennessee. Welcome, Grandmaster Bateman. Welcome to the show, sir. I'm so glad to have you.
I am elated to be asked to be doing this. Thank you, sir.
It's totally my pleasure, and I got to say right offhand, when I actually talked to you and discovered that you're a Christian musician, I just thought that was one of the coolest, things on the planet, actually, and to have a martial arts background. But we'll try to get into that a little later in the program. But my first question to you, sir, tell us about how you got into the martial arts industry. What interested you, and what caught your eye about it?
Well, to tell you the truth, brother, how it all started is my father was a rock and roll singer. He sang rock music all his life. He fronted his own Elvis tribute band, and then he's also a rock and country Hall of Famer, David Carroll, a.k.a. David Carroll Bateman from Minnesota. He was involved in martial arts with him and his bodyguards way back in the day, and then, of course, he was just a fan of martial arts in general, but it was him who sparked my interest in martial arts, and he used to take me out to the garage way back in the day, way back in the 70s, and began me on my adventure learning, at the time, Taekwondo, kickboxing, and Jeet Kune Do.
Oh, wow. That's truly amazing. And so you teach more than one martial arts, correct?
Yes, I do. I teach. I pretty much at our gym, we have our Taekwondo, kickboxing, and Hapkido program, but I've in my 40-some years of training now, I've been training since 72.
Oh, wow.
And since that time, I've trained with a whole lot of people, and more than teaching Taekwondo or teaching a nationally branded name of martial arts, I teach martial arts. I teach what works, and we're involved with the Amateur Athletic Union in Taekwondo, and we're also involved with the Kukkiwon from Seoul, South Korea. But we have, we do our own thing. We do what works, and we have to modify. I've had to modify what I do over the last 30 years to, stay in business. So, more than anything, I'm a martial artist, not a stylist. Old school.
Yeah, the old school traditionalist. Like, this is where I get into debates with people where they say that UFC is a martial art. It's mixed martial arts. It's to me street fighting. It's not true martial arts, in my opinion. So
I've seen great changes in our country just in the last 20, 25 years with what the effects of mixed martial arts / AKA cage fighting has done to the reputation of martial arts, and it's changed it. And that's one of the great things about being traditional and old school.
Yeah, very, very, very true. And I wanted to ask you, I heard that your Fist of Fury kickboxing program is highly popular. Can you tell that program?
The Fist of Fury kickboxing program is growing. It's not quite as popular as the Taekwondo program, but we are moving forward with Wacko and Rob Zavlisky. He's the president of that organization. and we're trying to build a team so we can belong to another great platform like the Amateur Athletic Union for Taekwondo. We wanted to add something that has a really good reputation and can bring our athletes and our students and members that are involved into a platform that has a great reputation internationally.
Oh, wow. And tell us about your position as the president of the United States Expert Karate Association. I hope I got that correct.
Yes. The United States Expert Karate Association was established in 1985 by a group of master instructors who were originally trained in one of the original Kwans out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, in Sungwoo Kwan. And the masters that came out of the Sungwoo Kwan to create expert karate wanted to keep a system of training old school and with more American traditions than Korean. So nothing against the Koreans or anything like that. This is just about creating kind of like our own little pocket here in the United States. And it allows me a freer platform to teach on. The organization was founded with a council, and we are currently into our third council. So
wow.
I became president and voted in 2012.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. And with that said, sir, I need to take a quick commercial break. Here's a word from our sponsors. We will be right back.
Hi, Stephanie Ma here again with a special report from World Martial Arts Media about LegacyFightGear.com. Legacy Fight Gear is the official supplier to the world's oldest and most respected martial arts organizations. They have been manufacturing high-quality, affordable products for over 30 years. Visit their new online catalog at LegacyFightGear.com today. School owners who want to raise money for their teams can register to get a wholesale account and become a distributor for LegacyFightGear.com. Don't forget to like our official page at www.facebook.com/LegacyFightGear.
And we are back with Grandmaster Bateman. I tell you, sir, I'm having a blast. I'm having a blast with this interview so far, and we haven't begun to scratch the surface yet. But tell us about your favorite old school training tactics. Your favorite.
The greatest old school training tactics that I have learned. Number one is discipline, self-discipline, and then number two, humbleness. You must be humble. You must learn to be humble. Even great fighters with great stature will tell you over time of seasoning that one of the greatest things to pursue in this lifetime is to learn to be humble. And that's where the discipline comes in. So these things strive in our gym, and it's one of the things that maintains our gym to have that old school flavor, the answering to your superiors like yes sir and yes ma'am, and using words of consideration and so forth. So this is a true foundation for the United States Expert Karate, and of course my gym as well, or any instruction that I do. So
yeah, that totally makes sense, because to me, if you don't have proper respect and etiquette then you're in the wrong place. Without further ado, let's continue this interview with Grandmaster Bateman, and I want to personally apologize to him for the inconvenience. But my next question, sir, is who or what do you think has influenced your martial arts career the most?
Definitely my father. My father pushed me for greatness. He was the type of person that would lock himself into a bedroom and master guitar lyrics when he was younger. And he just, he pushed me to pursue myself and make myself even better than him. And one of the greatest ways that he knew how to do that was to get me focused in martial arts training. And see, a lot of people, they just believe that martial arts is all about aggression and, fighting. But ultimately, it's about conquering the inner self, and that's one of the reasons why I teach it, promote it, and live it.
Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense, sir. In your mind, what are some of the benefits of learning sparring?
Sparring. Well, if you're really going to engage in a fight on the street, you have to have sparring. I mean, you can kick and punch paddles all you want, and you can achieve some proficiency that way, but you're never going to learn the true value of ultimate movement. You're never going to learn the true value of taking a hit or being properly conditioned unless you spar. And there's many different types of ways of sparring, and there's grappling, there's stand-up kickboxing, taekwondo, point karate, whatever. But sparring is definitely an essential part of a true martial arts class, just to help you proficiently, advance to the next level, and to make sure that you can actually really defend yourself and your family.
So in layman's terms, sir, for people that don't understand the martial arts lingo, it's kind of like sparring to me is like practicing. You got to practice to get your art and your craft down, correct? I mean, you could use that terminology. So. Yep.
That's most important if you really want to have. I mean, in order to break boards, you got to practice board breaking. In order to fight, you have to mimic or practice some kind of sparring without killing each other during the practice, and that's what sparring does. Sparring gives you that opportunity to mimic an actual fighting situation as long as you make it realistic type of sparring.
Yeah. Sir, why do you think that old school training is making such a powerful comeback in today's society?
I think that the United States, especially this country, leading with media networks and television and stuff, I think that we've just had it. I think parents have had it. We've seen what Hollywood, what the film industry, what being in a highlight of these great big Holocauns, the UFC and stuff like that, that kind of fighting situation, that's their thing. That's not what I promote in my gym. We promote more of a traditional value, teach your students to be great and conquer the self, and then move yourself on to college and bigger and better platforms. Old school and traditional training is making a comeback just simply because parents want that value of discipline and respect and humility back again. And I think they're seeing a difference in those that have pursued that type of martial arts training.
I couldn't have said it better myself, sir, but with that said, we need to take another commercial break. Here's a word from our sponsors, and we will be right back with Grandmaster Bateman. Hold on tight, folks.
Taekwondo training, fellowship, and spirit. The U.S. National Taekwondo Association is your link to the traditional Taekwondo of Korea. We offer both national and world certifications. Our mission is to provide a fraternal organization for the promotion and preservation of Taekwondo as a martial art. We strive to service all needs of the traditional stylist, from the highest level Grandmaster to the beginner student. Enjoy the many benefits we offer: grade and black belt certifications, instructor and master instructor courses, tournament insurance, success seminars, state, national, and international competitions, business support, martial arts supplies, monthly e-newsletter, and private training tours of Korea. Not only do we teach the best techniques, but Korean philosophy as well. We developed the complete mind, body, and spirit philosophy. Visit www.usnta.net to join today.
So tell us, sir, what is your view on martial arts philosophy?
You know, one time I saw a demonstration match that was taking place between Bill Wallace and Joe Louis. Probably about 25 years ago, and Chuck Norris was a commentator. Mm-hmm. And one of the commentators was commenting on how that he just likes to fight and he just likes to take the philosophy out of it and just get to the pounding. And Chuck Norris, I respected this because Chuck Norris, being an actor and being involved in front of the film and the media, he stuck up for philosophical teachings in martial arts. Mm-hmm. Philosophy is important. This is how you break through and you get through to people. This is how you tap into somebody's spirit and keep moving them forward. As a martial arts teacher, as any kind of teacher, teaching with philosophy is just going to make yourself one step closer to greatness. Philosophy goes back thousands of years. We have great philosophers. Even in the Bible, we have great philosophy in the Bible. And I just like to try to use that wisdom with anybody I teach in life in general. Philosophy and philosophical teachings are so important to martial arts.
And I got to say real quickly, sir, since you mentioned Superfoot Bill Wallace, I met him a few years ago at the USA Martial Arts Hall of Fame, and he is a wonderful guy. He's down to earth. I just love Bill Wallace. He's just awesome.
Superfoot Wallace and Joe Louis were martial artists that I followed. They had great lives. There was things that impacted their life on both sides that they both rose above. And, they taught, and Joe Louis taught, to be, to have an indomitable spirit, especially anything related indigenous to what you're teaching.
That makes a lot of sense, and I wish I could have met Joe Louis before his passing, because I heard that Joe Louis was such a great guy.
And talk about a man that would teach with philosophy. That was your man, Bill Louis.
And sir, I understand that you have coached your daughter to national competition. Tell us about that.
Marty-Lise has been training since she was 3 years old, and when I first introduced her to martial arts, I never really realized that she would fall in love with it like she has. Her mother was a dance coach, a dance instructor from Russia, Estonia, and when she came here, that's pretty much what she did at first, was taught Russian ballet, and I thought that Marty-Lise could take off into that. But one day she came to me, she said, she was looking at my medals and stuff in my studio, and she said, Dad, this is what I want to do. I want to do what you do. I don't want to do ballet anymore. I want to be a black belt. And that was the day, probably, I think she was 6 years old, I guess, at the time, and we decided to take her out of the other things that she was involved in and put her full force into Taekwondo, and it was not a mistake. Since then, Marty-Lise has captured 6 U.S. AAU medals. She's a 2-time United States gold medal winner in the sparring division, and she's always cut it up, and we believe that if you're going to be a good fighter, you should be able to do everything well indigenous to Taekwondo, so she also has done that in forms competition as well. So with sponsorship, thank God that we've got grandmasters like Richard Hackworth that are coming forward with anything that he can do to help us get Marty-Lise competing at a national and international level. It's awesome to have that kind of sponsorship and sponsors from others. Marty-Lise is a straight A student. She has been for 9 years. She's going into 11th grade. She is the president of her food shelf drive within Walker Valley High School here in Cleveland, Tennessee. She is a motivated student. She is a leader. and we're looking forward for great things for her. She's coming back to the competition floor in 2019. She did receive a small injury to her back as she qualified for her first U.S. team trials last year in 2017. And in training, she had injured her sacrum, but that has healed now, and she's training with me and also Master David Kemp out of East Ridge, doing some special training with him to get her prepared to get back on the circuit here in 2019 and possibly, hopefully, make that AAU Taekwondo national team.
Oh, wow. That's amazing, sir. Totally amazing. What do you think instructors should do first to restore some quality to their classes and get away from watered down kiddie karate that the billing companies have been shoving down everyone's throats for the last 30 years?
Number one, the instructor, master, owner of a school needs to keep it real and have empathy for what he's doing. Are we in this for money, or are we in this to help and change the world? You know, one of the prerequisites of Taekwondo is to help build a peaceful world. And I really believe that. That's one of the philosophical things that we teach in our gym. So building peace, that's the main thing to focus on, is teaching a good, solid martial arts program where there's a good self-defense base being taught, and then you have other avenues for sports. Mm-hmm. And then, having a good accountability for, having grandmasters over yourself as well. But, definitely just maintain being real. And remember that we're not just doing this to make our boss extra buck or be self-employed, but we're doing this to change the hearts and give people the tools on how to defeat the life's obstacles that we face.
Yeah. But unfortunately, there are some instructors out there that's just out for the money, and that's the sad thing. And to me, it takes away from the craft, as I like to call it, because to me it is a craft and it's something sacred. And it just breaks my heart that this happens in the martial arts community and around the world. It really does.
Yeah, that's the commercialism lead of the United States. And that's a unique thing about the United States of America. We have things here in this country that are fantasy, and then we have things here in this country that are real, and then you have a choice to be involved in either or.
Yeah. Well, sir, with that said, it's time to pay some bills. So here's another word from our sponsors. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Ma from World Martial Arts Media. And today, I'm here to tell you about LegacyBelts.com. Legacy Championship Belts and Awards is the world's premier manufacturer of custom and cast championship title belts, who supplies belts to top professional boxing, MMA, and wrestling organizations on the planet. If you're a promoter or collector looking for a high-quality MMA, martial arts, boxing, wrestling belt, or even a belt for a special event, then you need to visit LegacyBelts.com today. Be sure to like us at www.facebook.com/LegacyBelts.
And we are back with Grandmaster Bateman. Sir, I am having a total blast. I'm in heaven right now. I tell you, the only thing that's missing from this broadcast is a guitar. Me being a musician and all. So, but I'm having a blast.
Me too.
Okay, on to the next question, sir. Being a traditional stylist, what do you think about I'm trying to read my notes here. I hope I get this right, so if I mess up, excuse me. Baton twirling weapon flipping style forums that are being done at the open karate tournaments these days.
I've been a part of many martial arts organizations over the past 40 years, karate organizations, taekwondo, martial arts in general. And, you see a lot of the showboating stuff, and it's still martial arts. It's just like I said before, do you want to pursue something that is more flashy and really doesn't have a lot of value for the street. Any movement is good. Any getting kids out, youth out, teenagers, young adults, anyone, adults off the streets, off their couches and into the dojo and working out, into the dojo or to the gyms working out is really important. So I'm not going to pick on those arts. It's not something that we really have pursued that much in the past, although I do have students that have competed neck and neck with, the bigger nationally rated forms competitors and have done quite well. So, I mean, that's, like I said, it all depends on what you want. You can choose. In this country, you have the opportunity to choose something that's fanatical or fantasy or something that's realistic or real.
Wow. That's amazing, sir. Do you think that the events of the UFC help or hurt the martial arts in schools in general? Do you think it hurts it?
I think that the cage fighting and the UFC has hurt the martial arts. This is where you run into the fanatical or the fantasy side on a whole nother level. You have all these youth that are involved in that kind of gym or that kind of training. Their goal is to become the next world champion in the cage, and unfortunately, they don't even consider college, most of them, and that's a struggle in our country. I see that going on, but that's a huge thing going on right now, not just in our country, but all over the world. And how it makes its money is through television and through viewing. So, we have all these people that are watching that, and it seems like right now, until people start to discover how much it's actually damaging us, it'll continue on. But I think that that's what's going on right now. People are kind of stepping back and going, wait a minute. We had better results years ago. Why are we doing it this way now? So at one time, I know that the cage fighting was even banned here in Tennessee until 2009, and then we saw that open up as a platform here in Tennessee, and then we saw a lot of change go through with the cage fighting thing. That's not a platform that I'm involved in. I got out of that years ago. I dabbled in it a little bit in the 90s, and it was something I saw through right away. I wanted to bring my students and anybody involved in our organization through something a little bit more positive than that, and then something that would actually be more healthy for the brain,
Yeah, I remember when UFC first came out, and then I remember Tila Tooley getting his tooth knocked out, and there was no rules. It was actually more like blood sport before all these rules came into place, and then people started freaking out, and then that's when the rules and stuff started, taking place. So I actually remember that, believe it or not.
Yep. Rules and big money and big supporters.
Exactly, because my first thought was when I seen that, I was like, holy gosh, this is just like the movie Bloodsport, but real, happening,
Well, like I tell my students, a lot of these fighters that get in the cage fight ring, they can fight in the ring and make a bloody mess and, make a combat look, pretty gruesome. But you get them standing in the gym and try to have them do a formal exercise like even a simple form like Taeguk Iljang, the first form required in Kukkiwan Taekwondo. And they're confused. They're trying to figure out what you're doing, and they don't like to have to these step-by-step movements, moving their mind left and right and left, which those forms are made, by the way. They're made to increase the development of the frontal lobes. So, that's the great thing about learning traditional martial arts is you're training the main and most important muscle, the brain.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely, sir. And with that said, sir, unfortunately, we are running out of time. This has been a great interview, and I've had a blast, and I definitely want to have you back on the show in the near future. Do you have any final thoughts or wisdom for my audience before I close out tonight's program, sir?
Yes, have faith. Having faith is really important, and if anybody wants to jump off over onto Facebook to connect, I also do, like you had mentioned, music, and they can connect with me there. And I upload new music all the time here at God Rock Ministries. That's www.godrockministries.org.
And I just want to thank you, sir, for being on the program. And I definitely would love for you to be back on the program talking about your music and
anytime.
And what you've got going on. But with that said, this is Justin Harvey. You can follow me on Facebook and Twitter at Justin Ray Harvey. And thank you to all my listeners who have listened to tonight's episode. And we will be back soon on World Martial Arts Radio Network. This
Awesome.
is Justin Harvey signing off. Thank you for listening.